Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.
Seconds to go.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the C Star League. My name's Toffees, bringing you the action here tonight with my partner in crime, Gorgon the Wonder Cow. This is game 2 of a best-of-3 matchup between Madison, Wisconsin, and UCLA Bruins. Now, a couple quick housekeeping pieces. Guys, if you're interested in working in esports, we are hiring a social media manager. Head over to cstarleague.com as well for more information. Midwest Campus Class, $25,000 in... Okay, I'm going to say this again because it's important. $25,000 on the line for a college esports event. Columbia College, Missouri. Last day to register your team is tomorrow, February 22nd. So get on it. Don't miss your chance to, well, put yourself through school by playing Dota. Big shout out to our sponsors, Band Gaming. They are a social app, the primary of the CSL. Lots of features like groups, boards, calendar functions, polls, chat, and even recently, call functionality. So check them out. Get them on the App Store or Google or Apple, and you can join the CSL community there. Twitch, as always, nothing but gratitude for the largest streaming platform in gaming. They support college esports from PAX East to West and many more events. The CSL wouldn't be what it is today without their support. And finally, Ace Republic of Gamers, the newest member of the CSL family, providers of everything esports, from wonderful products like monitors, laptops, routers, graphics cards, and motherboards, inside or out. Don't enter your next battle unless you're equipped with an Asus. Gorgon, the last match was an interesting one. It was back and forth. There was a point where UCLA had... How do you say it? I don't want to say overwhelming, but it was pretty close to overwhelming lead. They made one massive mistake, and Wisconsin almost won the whole thing.
5 seconds.
Yeah, I don't think that UCLA was ever unimaginably far ahead, but like there was never a point where I felt like, well, this game could not go back to UW-Madison's way, which is good, because in a lot of CSL matches, I find myself feeling that way unless UCLA just completely throws the game away, which we do see sometimes in CSL. There is, especially earlier in the fall, sometimes we see some pretty huge skill discrepancies, right?
And now,
it didn't look like that. UW-Madison played really well.
They did. And Gorgon brings up earlier in the fall, for those of you who might just be joining us, I've seen some Twitch chat comments like, whoa, college Dota. This is collegiate esports. We start the season when school gets going, and we run full season before semester break. Then the second half of the season starts when you get back. That is the record that determines if you go to playoffs. So these teams have been playing for a very long time. The top teams go to the big playoff, basically round of, I think it's 64. 128. No, it's like 64, right, Gorgon?
5 seconds.
Yes.
Yes, 64. Down to the number 1. The top 4 teams get to go to the LAN final to play for the big money, which is a huge experience last year. It was at PAX South in Austin. It was absolutely phenomenal, and they're fighting for that again this year. Both these teams have made the playoffs, but they are fighting for their seeding position, and both of them, Gorgon, play against teams that are favored next week. So this is a big game for them to secure a better seed to get their chance to go to DreamHack or wherever the finals happen to be held this year. So this is a very important game, especially for Madison. They need to come back and win this one and push it to 3. Enough about positioning. Let's talk about drafts. UCLA gets the Earth Spirit, prioritizes it with the number 1 pick for the second time.
Yeah, which once again is very weird. I mean, the Earth Spirit did a lot last game. I'm not trying to say that he's not a useful hero, but he's just not that likely to be banned. And now there's another factor that you have to consider when you're doing your first pick, which is, does this give away anything about our draft? And maybe UCLA more highly prioritizes getting a hero that's very neutral over getting popular heroes, which seems to be the case.
And a hero that they played really well. I could have potentially seen a round 2 respect ban on the Earth Spirit. Especially in that early game, you got to remember that they were hitting, Servant Saber, I believe, was playing it, and he was hitting every single remnant kick into roll 100% of the time. And that just made it so ridiculously difficult to beat him. And now you look at throwing a Bat Rider in with that. He sort of has a similar functionality to the Pudge, a very high damage output in the mid game, so we'll be able to see that combo working longer. I think it's a hero that Bruins used incredibly well and that Madison just didn't really have an answer for in the early game. And you saw how far out ahead they got. Yes, later on they pulled it back, but this time around, Disruptor Abaddon, I don't see as much pullback potential for Madison.
Yeah, but Disruptor is a very difficult opponent for Earth Spirit to deal with as well, right? And Bat Rider. You know, you've got Glimpse for the hard counter on the Bat Rider. You've got also Glimpse for a pretty good counter to the Earth Spirit. Kinetic Field, really good counter against both of those heroes. Static Storm, extremely good against the Earth Spirit. That is like a one-man wrecking crew for so far what we're seeing out of UCLA.
Absolutely. Now, they picked the Bat Rider into the Disruptor, which tells me that they have a severe amount of confidence in themselves right now. Abaddon follows the style that Madison showed us in the last game of survivability and just the ability to sort of keep in fights. Now, Madison did ban out the Lone Druid this time around. They played it last time, and I think they played it very effectively, so they have something else planned. Necrophos grabbed by the Bruins. What are you starting to see shake out from these drafts?
Well, UW-Madison seemed to be very focused on getting themselves a favorable draft, right? They got the Abaddon, presumably to counter the Lifestealer, right? Because Lasso is only disabled by Strong Dispels. Abaddon has 2. I think Abaddon is the only hero that has 2, right? He's got Borrowed Time, but he's also got a Photic Shield, which means if the Abaddon is nearby, you can't Lasso, period. You can either Lasso him, and then the second you get him low, he just breaks out of Lasso and runs away. Right. Or you can Lasso someone near him, and he can instantly Aphotic Shield them and kill your Lasso. So as long as Abaddon is up and has ultimate, Bat Rider can't Lasso. Just can't do it. Really, really, really good counter. Arguably the best counter in the game. And then obviously I already mentioned how good Disruptor is against both these heroes. Pretty good against Necrophos as well. Necrophos, by the way, having recently received a movement speed nerf of 5. That was a much bigger movement speed nerf than I think people tend to give it credit for, just because he went from 290 to 285, which is, for in layman's terms, he's now on the lower end of the spectrum. I think there are 22 heroes that are either now as fast or faster than Necrophos that weren't before. So about a fifth of the possible playing field is now faster than him that wasn't before. Can catch up to him or get away from him that couldn't before. And it has moderately decently impacted his win rate.
Yeah, especially for a hero.
A lot of players are having difficulty running him.
Yeah, and in the early to mid game, he really relies a lot on that speed to position to functionally use that Heartstopper aura. And I think that is something that really hurts him with the 5 down, especially in the early game. His laning opponents can really sort of work around his movement, and that caused him trouble. Vengeful Spirit picked up by Madison. They're going for the blue draft. So far, they seem to be sticking to that. Both of these heroes have a lot of control. The big difference for me is Madison looks like they're going for a lot of pull back or sort of control the position of the fight, whereas the Bruins look like they're looking to control heroes in the fight specifically.
Well, it's just another hard counter to Bat Rider. Just swap. You swap the Bat Rider, or you can swap the hero who's lasted by Bat Rider. Either way, you're breaking the lasso. This Bat Rider, unless he plays really, really well or his team supports him in terms of positioning in these fights, he's useless in these engagements. Venge also a really good counter to Earth Spirit. Earth Spirit tries to roll away or get away from tough situations, and he just gets swapped back in. And we saw the impact of that Vengeful Spirit. I mean, arguably the threat of that Vengeful Spirit was what made the game so long last time, right? You had 2 things keeping them in the game. Vengeful Spirit swapping the Lifestealer, which is going to come back out, which means that Vengeful Spirit play is going to be really important. The second thing was the Centaur ultimate
Yeah.
with Ags. Those were the two factors that kept them in the game.
And they expected Lifestealer the whole time. You can see that, by the way, that they were drafting. You brought it up early on. Absolutely nailed that. Mental Spirit also really great with the Disruptor. Obviously, extends the time that you can keep someone in that Static Storm, which is an incredibly powerful spell against this team, especially if you're looking to sort of get in there and sustain a fight of some sort. Lifestealer gets grabbed, and that, to me, is a little bit worrisome. They didn't respect Bandit, but he was super strong in the last game and so hard to deal with. Slark gets picked up by Madison. Last time we talked about Madison has a lot of in-out potential in their fights, and I said the only thing that they're missing is a Slark. This time around, they say blue draft. Let's get that Slark.
Yeah, Slark is... I mean, he's good against Earth Spirit. He's good against Batrider. Once again, you're looking at a hero that can get out of Lasso on his own with Dark Pact, right?
You know what?
Yeah, go ahead.
Last week we saw a Batrider picked up as well. And he was immediately counterpicked across the board. And I don't know if you remember this or not. We spent the entire game talking about how frustrated he was and how he had no impact on the game. It was sort of like watching a 4v5 with some Firefly in the middle of it. And it's going to happen again.
Just Baden, I think.
Yeah.
Just a Baden. And now you have 4 heroes who counter Batrider. Right?
The question is, did they over counter
3 heroes that can counter that lasso on anybody near them, and then a carry that can't be lassoed.
Do you think that is overkill on the counters? Does that make it easier for Lifestealer and Necrophos in this game because they spent so much trying to make that Batrider irrelevant, or is it going to be really just a tough situation for UCLA?
Slark is an okay hero to play up against Lifestealer and an okay hero to play up against Necrophos as well. Necrophos can be a bit of a problem for Slark because obviously Slark is really dependent on being able to bob and weave. A good Reaper Scythe could just be the end of him.
True.
But barring that, they don't really have any way to lock him down. They don't really have any way to punish him. And they don't have any high burst damage in order to get rid of him. Lifestealer likes to go up against heroes that have very tanky stature, right? Just because of the way that he works, he takes a lot of his damage out of Feast. He takes a lot of his life out of Open Wounds. And you're not really getting that out of UW Madison. Their only strength hero is Abaddon, who doesn't tank up so much from his strength, but rather from borrowed time.
Absolutely. Last pickup is Viper for Madison, a hero we don't get to watch very often, and when we do, well, we watch him slowly. He is the king of the one-click. What do you think of the Viper pickup here?
Yeah, Viper's a decent pickup here. I don't love it. I don't hate it. He's survivable. He's really good against towers, which they needed desperately. Arguably, the Slark pickup was a little greedy on the tower side, or greedy in the opposite direction of we just won't kill towers. We'll just try to kill heroes. That said, Viper, once again, knocks down towers pretty effectively. Pretty good against Lifestealer because a lot of Viper's damage is sustainable into Rage. Meepo, that's a pretty good pickup here.
Yes, I worry about the Disruptor. I don't know. It should be a pretty interesting game.
Disruptor can get rid of one of them, right? But you've already gotten the poof damage by the time Disruptor.
My assumption is that Disruptor's going to, from now on, hold Static Storm until he sees the poof potential and just drop it on top of Meepo.
Well, but remember, once a Meepo gets a Blink Dagger,
that's true.
You can drop down Kinetic Field around Meepo, but that's not silencing the Meepos that are poofing in. Right. It silences them once they're there, but you're still going to get the poof damage. And moreover, Meepo has the highest base magic resist in the game. He's got 35% base magic resist instead of 25. So the silence AoE, while that is effective AoE damage, really the secret to knocking a Meepo down is picking one Meepo and knocking him down. Doing a lot of AoE damage is usually really ineffective against a Meepo counterintuitively. You want to pick one and knock it down. You don't want to do a bunch of splash damage.
All right, the sides have switched in this match, so let's get this thing underway. Wisconsin will be playing on the Dire side, and they're going to have Slark playing played by Richard, who played that lone druid last time. Little Light is going to be playing the Viper. We're going to have Chemcat on the Venge. We're going to have Mandingo on the Disruptor. And last but not least, actually, let's jump up to the top. It looks like we might have a gank here. Richard on the run, Lifestealer on the chase. It's the opposite of last time. Lifestealer wants to go. Nice pounce. Richard trying to get himself out of some trouble. The rest of the team rotates around. And I don't think Radiant can keep pushing forward on this. So we'll turn it over to you to talk about that.
Very, very, very unhappy that Lifestealer did not go for open wounds and instead went for stare. I don't think that that would have changed the situation. I think that they still would have missed that kill. But you can see why you might be unhappy. A much higher percentage on that kill if you go for open wounds. Anyway, moving out, we do have Guillotine playing with a little help on from his friends on the Meepo. Mr. Loma OMG is reprising his role in the Lifestealer, as is Servant Saper on the Earth Spirit. Swaggernaut taking Necrophos out for a spin, and Dumb Pubs is burning up on the Bat Rider.
Dumb Pub's going to have a very long game ahead of him, so we'll keep an eye on that as the lanes start to fall out. Meepo, an interesting pickup here. This the problem that I have with the Meepo is I think he's a really good hero, obviously, especially at this level if you know how to play him effectively. But doesn't Lifestealer require a fair amount of farm as you move into the late game that Guillotine is just going to keep for himself?
Well, you can choose to scale that Lifestealer a couple of different ways, but the most common way is really to just get active after your second item and get the rest of your gold mostly from heroes, right? Lifestealer doesn't flash farm very effectively. He doesn't do any AoE damage. He doesn't have any real effective AoE skills. So presumably that Lifestealer wants to be really active anyway, which means that you're going to have a fair amount of jungle resources available for the Meepo if you want them. Meepo's net's very, very good. Sure. In this particular case, right, you're forcing out some of your dispels from your opponents on Earthbinds instead of on the Lasso, which might end up helping out your Bat Rider. The poof damage is really, really good into Disruptor, really, really good into Vengeful Spirit. Especially, like, Vengeful Spirit can't really swap a Meepo, right? Because if he happens to be poofing, or if he poofs while you're swapping him, oh, you just swapped your team accidentally into, like, a 1,000 damage nuke.
All right, so Necrophos went made to try and buy some help for Guillotine, because Guillotine having a very hard time in this lane, and will against the Orbs of Little Light. Rotates to the top for what looks like is going to be an aggressive try, or an attempt at an aggressive try. Throws down a good ward. Chemcat's going to walk right through it. Looks like he was doing a little taunting as he did so, saying, I know you have a ward here, buddy. Dumb Pubs and Servant going to be here to help out. Swagger hiding in the trees, pinging out Chemcat, saying, I see him, want to move on him, but Mandingo is in range. The stun's going to come out, so Swaggernaut will be able to do nothing really against Chemcat. He'll back up to the tower, and we'll see a 3 versus 3. On the bottom, Loma and Me and Her going head-to-head. Me and Her doing a pretty good job of making his life absolutely miserable right now. The Aphotic Shield's so strong when this one-on-one. But he turns around, wants to go on Me and Her. Me and Her took a couple of shots from the tower, which could cause some trouble here, and he has to be careful. Meanwhile, up on top, the fight is breaking out. Swaggernaut getting low, is in some trouble. Mandingo really wants to finish the job, but now he's stuck in a Firefly, and the first blood will actually go to the Radiant. Swaggernaut's able to get outside, run his regen, and get back in there. Good Firefly from Dumb Pubs to stay effective. Meanwhile, Guillotine's taken out in the mid. Not a big surprise there. This Viper has been playing very effectively. Had to go low and make a dive for it to happen, but the Orb Walk just too strong right now.
Yeah. Also, against a Meepo, right, Meepo doesn't scale super well through this stage of the game in terms of one-on-one heads up. He does have his second Meepo for Divided We Stand, but that doesn't really help against a Viper, because once again, at this and at many stages of the game, the hard counter to Meepo is really solid single target damage, counterintuitive. Right. And Viper has that in lane. He's able to harass out really effectively, as you mentioned, by orb walking. That's just a really hard lane for a melee Meepo. I'm honestly a little surprised that they didn't put the Bat Rider mid and then
run the Meepo
run the Meepo in a solo safe lane. That makes sense. And then run the Lifestealer in the aggressive tri lane. That would be a much more favorable match.
We're going to the bottom where Loma and Me and Her decide to go head-to-head. Me and Her takes the fight and loses it as the Rage is just too strong. Easy kill easy plays. 2-1 right now across the map. Let's take a look at last hits. 21-9 for the Viper. Not a surprise there. Meepo will fall behind early, but like we all know, Meepo with that catch-up potential can get some good ganks. Once he gets a couple of divided we stands out, easily farms the jungle, get himself back into this. But Little Light putting in work. This should be that death of Guillotine again. He evades, but it won't be enough. In comes the stun. Servant Saber wants to kill. Moves to the high ground. Little Light may die, but he'll take one with him. Make it 2. Down goes the Earth Spirit. Little Light going to be able to get away. Swaggernaut was here, but we're going to have a nice play by Mendingo to keep him safe. Little Light going to have to go the long way around, but should be able to do it effectively. Swaggernaut now thinking, oh, I'll cut him off as he makes this rotation. Little Light doesn't have a TP, so he's trying to be very clever here. They use the scan. And he's going to be in trouble. He says, at least I'll take a rune for my trouble. And gets killed by the neutral creep. Well played.
I'm having a little bit of trouble with my Dota clients. I want to let you do a nice vocal chocolate solo cast for just a minute while we get Valve to let me back.
Settle in, boys and girls. It's time for vocal chocolate. Up on top, Richard trying to take a little bit of tower damage. Not going to happen. Gets pushed back by dumb pups. They say not this time, Dick. On the bottom, it's Lolma doing a good job of farming here. He's 33-6. Forces me and her back off of the lane, and that's going to be good for him. The cap off lane not panning out right now for the Abaddon, who's only 13-0. Chemcat rotates to the middle position. Little Light having a hell of an early game, 22-9 versus this Meepo at 19-0. Meepo has resorted to the jungle, occasionally coming back out, but needs the support of Swaggernaut to get things done. Up on top, Servant and Dump Hub's going to be playing together to try and keep some protection in play. Chemcat comes forward looking for the runes, going to get pushed backwards by Dump Hubs, but that means Dump Hubs has to go the long way back to his lane. Is not going to get a lot out of that. Meanwhile, in the mid position, we saw the rotation. Servant Saber joined Swaggernaut as they talk about rotating towards the bottom lane. They're going to go ahead and hit the Sanctuary, regen themselves up to full. Lolma doesn't really need the help, though. He's 38-9. Abaddon can't do anything to stop him, so I would expect the rotation to go mid instead of bottom, looking to get themselves a nice little pick here. XP and gold, still dead even. They go ahead and pop the smoke and then use the Sanctuary, and will now make their rotation down towards the mid. Okay, so it will go towards the middle. Much more functional than trying to kill that Abaddon, who is almost level 6 right now. Arcane Rune picked up by Little Light. Not going to be that much help to him, but it is going to be running. Meanwhile, he moves forward. He wants to try to get a kill. Swaggernaut comes out, only level 3. In comes Guillotine. He's got the net, wants to throw it. There's the kick. Has never missed one, Servant Saber, and it will not start today. Moving in, the Poof and the Aloof Viper as he's sent back to base. Guillotine with a much needed pick here on that Viper with the whole team on a good rotation. Richard moving on Dump Pubs, wants to try and fight, walking through the Firefly, doesn't seem to care. Dump Pubs knocks him back. Nice flame break. Can he finish the job? He will. Richard should go down here. No. Heals himself up and will be able to get back just in time. Dump Pubs taking too much damage from the tower. Nicely executed there. I guess that outlines the value of a wand for all of you who are watching who think, maybe I don't need to spend that 200.
That really hurts too because he already had the salve and he's just about level 6, which means he won't need any more regen. And nice kinetic field. This should be a kill. Oh, nicely job. So they get a pick off on the Ember. Meanwhile, down the bottom, Swaggernaut being chased pretty aggressively here. Slowed, locked, dropped, and just barely survives, but will it last long enough? It won't. Aphotic Shield goes boom, and so does Necrophos. As he drops down, Lolma wants to move, but the ultimate is there. Hit level 6. Me and her decides to back away with the help of Chemcat. Lolma thinks about chasing, though. Says, nah, I'll settle for some creeps. Me and her does not care. That's a kill that if Necrophos hadn't had that move speed nerf, he would have survived there.
That's true.
That just goes to show you how much that really impacts your game, right?
Lots, yeah, for sure. All right, so let's look at the gold lead, 1,000 into the benefit of UCLA at the moment. XP is on the favor of Wisconsin, but ever so little, as this game is definitely still anyone's. But keep in mind, Guillotine still getting his levels. He's 8 right now. Got his boots online as well as his Iron Talent, and will now commence the farm game. Yeah, this is... It's interesting to look at the way that UCLA are going to try to window this game or try to hit their power spikes, right? The Meepo's going to need some time to catch up in the jungle. I mean, he might get involved a little bit, but he's going immediately in for some stats, and he shouldn't have trouble though, being that Lolma is sitting at 64 last hits. His net worth is 4.3k. We'll switch over to that so you guys can watch it. He has his recipe for his armlet, and it's almost done. So armlet's going to be out here in what, less than 100 gold? And I don't know, that seems like he's going to be able to make plenty of space with the Earth Spirit and Swaggernaut to just allow Meepo to get as fat as he wants to be.
Yeah, you do need one more item other than in most scenarios, right?
But his
like
speed,
you might
he's
be able to
added
get a fight.
I think at 9-minute Bracer in this game compared to last time, he's in a good position. Now, they do look like they want to gank him. So Chemcat, Mandingo, and me and her are moving forward. Not in a gank position. They're just going to go ahead and maybe take the push. Try to... See, I like this. Push it down. Take this tower. You know that they've already got Meepo trying to farm the jungle, so take away some of the jungle control. But it's going to backfire as Loma comes after Mandingo. Mandingo survives, but in comes Serve. He misses for the first time the punt, and we'll have to allow him to escape.
See, that right there is 100% why you need one additional item. But you need enough damage to be able to kill somebody in your first rage.
Right.
Otherwise, they're just going to stun you, they're going to throw you back, they're going to hit you with kinetic field, and you're not going to get something out.
Richard's making a move on Dump Hubs up top. Dump Hubs turns back around. Tries to get out as much as he can for the slow, but Richard going to go ahead and dispel it. The chase is on. Dump Hubs goes down. Beautifully done. In the middle, it looks like Little Light wants Guillotine. Gets some help from Servant. Servant comes in, tries to help him out. Guillotine able to poof. Gets the heal back up. Does a little bit of threading. Little Light dropping low. Wants to try to get Earth Spirit for his trouble, and he will. But that is a well-played exchange. They thought they were going to lose the Meepo. Instead, Meepo gets the Viper. So a big win for the Radiant in that trade-off.
Yeah, UCLA are actually in charge of the net worth, despite
for
the fact
sure.
that they were down 3 kills. And they don't have towers yet, and they are missing a tower. They're still in charge of net worth 5,000. That's a really dangerous spot to find yourself in. If you are UWM, like this Lifestealer is going to get going probably around 14 minutes, and that's when you really have to start worrying.
Now, when you're going up against the Meepo, he looks like he built heavily into Nether Toxin instead of the Corrosive Skin for the magic resistance and sort of the extra damage from all the right clicks. Is that the right call?
I think that was the right call because it allowed him to dominate his lane.
That's true.
And it's going to allow him to do a lot more damage onto the Lifestealer.
What about the 4 points in poison?
Yeah, I probably would have prioritized Nether Toxin, but I think this is relatively common. The slow is very helpful for grabbing kills. These guys are in trouble, though.
Okay, so in they come. Big play by the Disruptor. Catches a whole lot of folks, but it's not going to be enough. Me and her, ultimate popped. They end up killing the Disruptor very quickly. Swagger not coming forward. Does not have the ultimate. He just used it, but they don't need it because they got the spin and stun by Servant Saber. Little Light dropping low. Rage off a cooldown in 1 second. Toggle of the Bracer. The stun comes out, but it's on the wrong hero. Loma, they turn back around. Chemcat's going to go down. Loma on the chase. Wants to finish me and her. He doesn't have an ultimate anymore. That should make it a triple. And an easy tower here as Guillotine has arrived as well. Big play by UCLA. And look at that. Is a whopping 3,000 gold lead off of that kill because everyone was there to have fun with the AoE gold.
Yeah, that was a really, really good placement by this Lifestealer. It came up, he hid in the jungle to the side and just waited.
I don't think they can stop the tier 2
go.
push either. I think this is an easy tier 2.
Yeah, the Geostrike is, or excuse me, Divider We Stand is really good at knocking down tiers, right? Like, what do you do? One mistake and you're looking. Meepo was positioned too far.
Yeah, way too far. The swap comes out. He finds himself in some trouble. Chemcat's going to go down, but so will the Meepo. Richard low. Servant Saber's got to back away. We do see the lasso come out on Mandingo. He gets hurt, but not bad enough. Loma into the tree. Swaggernaut putting in some work, trying to do as much damage as he can. Oh, he's going to go down. Turns back around. They want Richard get caught inside of a nice play by Disruptor. He tried to defend his own team with the ultimate. Little Light in some trouble. Loma putting in work. Doesn't seem to care. It's 3 for 2. Loma toggles, leaves him behind. He could be in some trouble. It's going to make it 4. He drops. And just like UCLA got a really great play coming up towards this tower, Wisconsin pulls her right back.
Yeah, but off those towers, Meepo finished 2 Dragon Lances.
2
It's pretty good.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's a pretty good stats trade, right? You go in, grab 2 towers. They have a tower mid now as well. Like, that Meepo's going to scale really, really fast.
Now,
much faster than I expected.
I'm going to take the role because I don't play a lot of Meepo, or honestly against a lot of Meepo. Talk to me about this build. I'm sure some people are looking and saying 2 Dragon Lances. Explain to me how you build this Meepo.
Yeah, it's basically just stats. Right?
Stats,
You're just
stats,
getting
stats.
as much strength and agility as you possibly can for as inexpensive as you can, and that's what Dragonlance does. This is a no-tail from OG build, right?
Gotcha.
It's sort of lolsy, quite honestly, in my opinion, but for the mid game, it's an extremely effective Meepo, right? Because the stats are going to transfer now, since I want to say 701, but it might be earlier than that. Stats transfer over, so he's going to attack much faster, get a lot more Geostrike damage out. He also is going to be very tanky and very difficult to kill, and it costs him very little. Like you saw off that push and fight, he got 2. And now all of his meepos are sitting at 1,460 health with good armor, right? They're sitting at 13 armor, 1,460 health with decent damage output.
All right, they're going to make their move. They go on the Abaddon. He's caught out. He can't do anything. He does manage to get the ultimate pop. It's going to break the last of everybody's here. They let him back up to full. Guillotine. Nice silence by Mandingo. Catches Guillotine inside of it. Richard makes the jump. Wants to finish them before the silence ends. Guillotine very low. Can he finish the job? Richard does do it. They go 1 for 1. Abaddon goes down. Turns back around. Kem could be in some trouble. Making it 2 as we see the Disruptor go down. Dumb pubs. Lulma from the back. Kem in some trouble. Little light. Richard comes from behind. That's what you like to see from the Slark. He'll back up to full. There's the Infest. They lock him in place. They, he's inside of this stupid creep.
Oh, no. This is a bad creep to be in.
Because...
Oh, he's taking control. Yeah, he's going to take control.
Yeah.
He has to. Otherwise, they'll just walk it back to the fountain.
So he takes control and runs away. There's the roll. He wants to try to fight. In they come. Earth Shake. Nobody expected the Earth Spirit. Reinitiation. He finishes off the Slark. Little Light in some trouble. Lulma moves after Little Light. Little Light caught inside of Mandingo's play for safety. Will it be enough to keep him alive? Little Light goes down. Pulls back. Chemcat in some trouble. Lulma wants to finish the job. Mandingo can't save him. Mandingo's now isolated. He's in some trouble as well, and it is falling apart from Dire. Ruh-roh. Here comes Abaddon. He wants to get back in charge. Loma backs away. Servant Saber can't get out, and he ends up going down. So it was one of those things where you saw him take control of the creep and walk back towards them, and there was this moment of hesitation where Radiant went, or Dire went, I don't really know what to do at this point.
Yeah, well, there was a moment where Viper was holding the creep here.
Yeah.
Instead of walking it back, he was holding the creep in the tower, and I think that was a mistake, right? If he continued to just walk the creep back toward the fountain with the double damage rune and walk next to it, it's much less likely that he gets help, and he is going to eventually be forced to jump out of that creep. So you just honor guard the creep all the way back to the fountain. Instead of trying to force a fight inside of your tower, you just force a fight deeper in your territory. That all said and done, like Servant Saber, that was an amazing set of plays that he went in, saved that life stealer, traded his life for what, a triple kill?
Yeah.
That's a fantastic exchange.
And it was a really smart exchange too, because he didn't come straight up from the TP. He came around and made sure that he got a good engagement from the back position. So it worked out really, really well. But like you said, I mean, at the end of the day, go deeper, right? Like if you ever have a chance to go deeper, go deeper.
Yeah, he couldn't have done that if the life stealer had been charged back toward the base. But life stealer now sitting on top of a Yasha. Great move speed, great with the rage as well. There's just not a lot that they can do to keep him from diving in on them.
Swagger not going to walk away from this one.
Accidental arcane rune deny, no big deal, no big deal. Nobody really benefits from that, honestly, on this team. So
Chemcat throws out the dab. All right, let's see where we're at here. So they go into the Roche pit. Lul's going to go and get some farm.
If it doesn't backfire.
I don't think it will. I don't think they can do anything right now.
Yeah. Lifestealer's not near there. But if you were, this could be bad.
Yeah,
it will go down by the time Batrider gets in to look for vision, though he does have flying vision here. He's going to try to steal it. He's just going to fly over it. Screws up the timing a little bit.
Nope, Richard gets it. Down he goes from behind. That silence. Lul tries to make a move. Gets a big AoE hit from the Earth Spirit, which has been on fire so far. Richard misses the pounce. Did he miss the pounce or the rage work out? But rage comes out. Goes ahead and infests and turns back around. Let's get involved here. Nice play by the Necrophos. Richard dropping low, turns back, wants to fight. Guillotine is here now as well. And this is backfiring pretty hard on the Dire. Richard's on the run to save the Aegis. Doesn't want to give it up, but he's caught by a beautiful kick from Servant Saber. And he may not be able to get away from this one. He might get locked up twice. Yep, that's going to be it. So the Aegis is lost. It does backfire. Not the way that we thought it would with the engagement in the Roche. But in the counter engagement on Lul from the side they didn't expect, they melt down 4, take the Aegis back, and push a tower.
Yeah, they... honestly, at this point in time, we're seeing UWM, I think, increasingly feel the pinch.
Yeah.
Because their decision-making seems to be a little panicked, if I'm being honest. They through the mid-game last game, played really, really well, but since then... Yeah, have just increasingly been too far forward. Like that right there, there was no reason for them to be engaging there. But just wait for the Slark to be up, give up the tower, And UCLA are an experienced team, and they are really punishing this mentality.
Poofs away to safety. Guillotine's going to go ahead and TP out the low man on the totem pole, and he will escape. So they do some damage to the tower. They start to back away, but Loma comes back in. He wants Mandingo. Mandingo's going to go down. There's the pullback. This is bad news bears. Me and Her is going to get his ultimate pop. Slark's stuck inside. He gets to go out the back door. Nets miss him, but they catch the Abaddon. Lots of TPs coming in. Abaddon not going to survive this one. He goes down. Here comes Little Light. Stunned. Lowell's going to be able to get himself out. Dumb Pub's on the guard routine. Guillotine's still at a lot of health here, and they may just continue to push onto this tower.
Yeah, they don't have any real health on Lifestealer, but they're going to be able to get them healed up pretty fast.
Richard
but
on
they
patrol.
can knock down the shrine while they do it.
Yeah, very true. So they'll roll back, get themselves a no, it looks like.
Oh no, they didn't quite get this tower. Yeah, it's got 142 health left. What a bummer for them. But even so, why, if you are UWM, what compels you to come off the high ground there? You just lost a major fight. Your opponents are basically at full health.
Yeah.
But you charge down off high ground just because they're folding away. Like, that's a really common decision at really from CSL teams in general, but you see it at pro level too. Like, it's a really common decision to just say, oh, my opponent is folding backward. They're routing.
Well,
therefore, I must have the advantage in this fight.
we're going to look in on Swaggernaut real quick, where they're making a gank, big haste rotation. Swaggernaut will die. No questions asked here. There's not much they can do to keep him alive. But it's funny that they gave up that, because if you remember in the last game, Wisconsin had the Centaur, if I remember correctly.
Ooh, take a look at Little Light here.
Where's Little Light?
He's
seen about going?
behind the Meepo, which just used Poof, and he's invisible. He's waiting for one Meepo. And he's not going to get
Never got it.
That's unfortunate for him.
So he'll back away. But last time around, they had the Centaur, and multiple times Wisconsin baited UCLA off of the high ground and then used the Centaur re-engage to crush them. And so they know that this happens. They should be aware of it, and yet they still kind of got caught.
Yeah.
Goldie 10,000 XP 13. UCLA in a much better position in this match than they were last time, and that is really bad news for Wisconsin.
Yeah, Meepo almost has Ags up, which is also going to be like that. That's another huge infusion of stats. Not to mention the extra Meepo, but honestly, the extra Meepo isn't even that big of a deal at this stage in the game because he's so far ahead. The extra stats are when he goes up into the negative armor, into the physical damage that comes out of this team. Just making sure that one Meepo isn't targeted down is what he needs to do.
Now, let's talk about the Batrider. We thought Batrider would be relatively irrelevant in this game. I feel like he's been far more effective than I expected him to be. What do you attribute that to?
He's been sort of effective. Like, he's got 10 assists mostly from Firefly.
Right.
I don't honestly know that I would say this Batrider has contributed a ton.
We got a big fight going on. I'm going to interrupt you, Kinetic. Ultimate Static Storm. They want to try to make a move on Guillotine before Guillotine gets off the poofs. He gets out. He wants to pull it, but he doesn't get it off in time. Fast kill. Little Light putting in the work. Servant Saber tried to extend. It's not going to happen. He does a nice roll up and over and will get himself to safety, but it costs him the Meepo and the Necrophos. It was a really good kill from Dyer.
I love this little Satyr Banisher running around. I get a chuckle out of it every.
You know,
Satyr Banisher also sitting on top of Purge, which is a hard dispel. So now they have another way to get rid of Batrider's ultimate.
That's funny. That said, though, had that Meepo was about, if my count was correct, about a half second from the poof going off, which I think would have been the exact opposite result. They would have got at least 3 out of that poof explosion. So, really desperation plays by Wisconsin, but it worked out.
Yeah, you move on that Meepo. If you see that Meepo alone, you absolutely move. Well, even if he does get the poofs off, like I don't have the faith that he would have gotten 3. I think maybe he would have traded. And a trade is really very good, considering that Meepo is sitting on top of second highest net worth in the game at 12.3, and your opponents are 10k net worth ahead of you. The AoE gold alone out of that is going to be thousands.
So, gold lead, by the way, since we're talking about it, about 9,000 right now for UCLA. They're in firm control of the experience. Let's open up the items. You can see what we're sitting on. Ags is done, as well as the 2 Dragon Lances and the Blink on Meepo. He's level 21 at this point, so he's starting to spiral very quickly out of control. Lifestealer with the Sanj Yasha all wrapped up. Looks like he's going to be going towards an AC next, if I don't miss my guess. Feeling pretty good. Batrider looks like a BKB is his next order here after the Blink and the Force Staff. On the opposite side for Wisconsin, the boys who are behind right now, Viper's got a Stormpike, Solar Crest on a Batten, and Slark with the Silver Edge, and that's about it. And that I think is the story of the game right now.
Yeah, that Silver Edge is not as good of an item in this game as it normally is. And normally that Silver Edge, right, it provides a huge 50% damage reduction on carry.
Little Light in some trouble.
Well,
they're going to TP everybody in. Sanctuary will get popped, but Little Light will go down. Sorry, Sanctuary did not get popped, so they leave it up and end up losing 2. I thought when Venge TP'd in, he would have hit it as fast as possible, but it seems like he chose not to.
I don't think it would have made a difference, to be honest. It would have bought them like 1.4 seconds. The damage output is just too severe here. They're too far behind. What I was going to say is that normally that Silver Edge is really, really good. I mean, especially this early, you can hit a carry and knock his potential down 50%, but you can only do that to one Meepo.
Right.
So there's still going to be 4 Meepos hitting you at full strength.
I wonder if he maybe got it for the intentional life stealer. We're gonna go. Richard comes forward, tries to make his move. Big play. Disruptors hit very good combos. They just haven't worked out the way that he hoped to. Meepo does go down. Big swap back on Loma. This is what they did last time around. They want to try to finish him off. 4 staff, and now the infest into the catapult. Catapult is on the run. Yeah, get away, get away. Loma left behind, gets the rage off. The chase is still there. Dumb Pub's thinking about coming in. Nice flame break. Look at that. He gets the Firefly down to slow things. Loma still on the run. Richard wants him real bad. He's doing everything he can to try and survive this, but it looks like Richard is going to finish the job. He ends up getting the kill. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Servant Saber and Swaggernaut both came forward. Everyone came to try and save the Life Stealer. Ultimately, he went down, and it resulted in a 5-man wipe. Gorgon, I want to call your attention to the last game we watched. Right around 22 minutes, Wisconsin got a massive 5-man wipe off of UCLA's overconfidence and ended up coming back to almost win the game. Did we maybe just see that happen again?
Yeah, I don't think that was trying to save the Life Stealer. I think they were trying to re-engage that fight because there was no reason. The Life Stealer jumped inside of his opponent's catapult, I'm pretty sure. There was no reason for him to move that catapult. He could have just stayed in there waited for his team to respawn. That catapult survives all the way to the end of the lane typically. Doesn't take any damage at all. He could have just sat in there for as long as he wanted, waited for safety. But instead he moved it and tried to bait his opponents to chase him, and they bought the bait, presumably because he had teammates coming in and he thought that they would turn and kill. And I think it was very intentional by them. I think it was an interesting play that normally would have been a very good play, but they just didn't quite have the damage output without the Meepo there.
So they come down, they take the mid tower, they'll back away now, not wanting to get greedy and give up what they got. They did manage to pull back the gold advantage to 10,000. Oh no, they pulled the Viper out before he could be saved. Nice play by Guillotine, though. Everybody's coming in. They want to play from behind. Me and her dropping low. Ultimate's going to get popped. Richard in a dangerous position. Locked in place. Can't seem to get out of the crowd of Meepos. Turns back around. Now he's got a Guillotine. He wants to go for it. The poofs come off. Everyone dodge. Richard and Guillotine going head-to-head. Can Guillotine finish Richard? Is it necessary? Nope, it doesn't happen. The death coil, or the mist coil from his and her ends up finishing Guillotine. Guillotine goes down. Loma on the chase gets no one. And the initiation from Radiant ends up backfiring again. And all they get is a disruptor for their trouble. And they lose the Meepo.
Yeah, that's really bad, but the fact that Batrider got a lasso off in front of a disruptor and a Abaddon, like that's why honestly it shouldn't be possible. It was so really nice play by the Batrider to read that situation right, but kind of a misplay. Fortunately, the Viper ends up getting away anyway, so maybe it ended up working.
Yeah, it worked out well for them. I mean, the gold lead, after that last 5-man, they pulled it down to 10,000. After that pick, because they got the Meepo, they pull it down to 7.5. So it's a massive swing. Almost 10,000, about 10,000 gold pulled back to the favor of UWM in terms of net worth, and they almost have XP back to even, which is a feat up against the Meepo. So Meepo is going to burn the buyback. That's interesting. Is that normal? That doesn't seem normal.
What doesn't seem normal? The buyback?
Meepo bought back for no reason.
Yeah, I think they just want to go defend Roche or something.
Fair.
They're so far ahead. I don't think that he thinks this is losable. He's died 2 or 3 times now, going in way too deep.
Yeah.
So they're playing like this isn't losable, to be honest, and it is. It's pretty low percentage loss. Meepo goes late harder than Slark by a million miles an hour. right? But goes later, way better than Viper as well. But
they get the lasso up. They want to make a move here. Viper's in some serious trouble, and there you go. We talked about going late Viper. Viper's got to try to walk away. Gets caught by Swaggernaut. He's going to be down for 108 seconds. No buyback. Richard moves now on lull. In comes Kim from behind. Gets up a nice stun. Rage in 1 second, though, so he can pop that. Swaggernaut in very deep, doing what he can. Dump Hub's dropping low. He's going to go down. Nice kick. Servant Saber is on fire with this Earth Spirit, but it's not going to be enough. Swaggernaut in some trouble. He's going to get caught from the outside. He goes down to make it a double. The rotation, yes, they got the Viper, but they gave up 2 in return. But look at this. Bottom lane, Guillotine with the split push. 0 Fs given. Wants to make the play. The silence will come out. He takes Disruptor with him, but he'll go down. Me and her drop slow, but we'll get to safety. But at the end of the day, that's the Rax. Lolma going to go ahead and try to take out the Sanctuary as well.
Honestly, they probably don't need to be making these trades to get barracks. Like, they could probably just go do it as a team. But it's better to make the trade and get the barracks than not to get the barracks at all, probably. Right? There's only one hero that really deals supers, and that's Viper, and only because he bought a Maelstrom.
Right.
Against 2 lanes of supers, the Dire draft is not particularly well set up.
So, and that is what they are dealing with now, top lane. The only one still holding, whereas there are 2 tier 2s up on the Radiant side, happily in position to try and keep winning this game. The Goldie's back up to 10,000. XP is dead even, but at this point, that's just because our Meepo has pretty much leveled out. He's level 24. He'll be 25 in just a few moments. Like you said, he scales so ridiculously well. And we do talk about this. When we talk about heroes playing with Meepo on their team, one of the biggest issues is Meepo sucks the experience off the board for everyone, right? Yeah. That said, Lolma is level 21. He hasn't lost that much experience. He's still on track with his opponents in terms of levels. So they've been able to deploy the Meepo without hurting the Lifestealer.
That really comes down to what I said at the very top of the game, right? Lifestealer gets most of his resources from fighting heroes after he gets the laning phase secured. Lifestealers that go do a lot of farming either have a very different sort of draft or playing way too greedy. He is a hero that does best while trying to farm very high HP units, which tend to be other heroes. Which opened up the whole jungle for the Meepo, because Lifestealer doesn't need access to the jungle. He just needs an ancient camp once in a while, and he's absolutely happy.
Now,
the draft was really well positioned to let this Meepo and this Lifestealer scale together.
Absolutely. Now let's turn it over to talk about Dire a little bit. I've been very impressed with Mandingo's play on this Disruptor. His ultimates have been incredibly well placed. The problem is they're just not able to capitalize on that. Richard trying to do your typical Slark play in and out, stopping their opponents, getting picks, but he's just being isolated continuously by the opponent's team. Meeple's been catching him every single time, and it's really causing a lot of trouble. Not bad play by Richard, just really great positioning coming out of UCLA. Speaking of great positioning, they try to push the mid tower. 3 TPs come back to slow them and may try to make an engagement, but look at this. Tops. Lolma is going to force everyone to TP back for defense. They're going to move on him. Richard moves on Lolma. Some damage coming out, but here comes the rest of the team. Guillotine TP'd in. He made the poofs happen. He wants to play, baby. He's going for the supers. He doesn't even care. He will very likely go down. He does. Gives up a lot of gold, as does Lolma, but they pick up the melee racks for their trouble and force everyone back off that mid position. So almost supers, not quite, but there is just nothing I see that Wisconsin has to deal with the supreme amount of push that these lanes are going to have on all sides.
You know, once again, they probably don't need to be doing this in order to win this game, but they can afford to.
This is
so far ahead. There is no buyback on the Meepo for a minute, so like this is probably a GG push time, right?
Yeah.
If you are UWM, you just go straight for the throw.
Mid or lose.
Didn't say buyback.
Absolutely, which he did.
Yeah.
So
but
down.
They don't know.
So down the lane we come. They're going to try to make this thing happen. The buybacks are up for you guys to keep an eye on as Me and Her leads the charge right down the middle. Mid or nothing, they say. Let's get this thing underway. Me and Her out in front. Richard, Chemcat, Little Light, everyone there. They've got one man back on Mandingo trying to hold the creeps, and to the high ground they go. Richard leans into it. There's the glyph. Big swap by Swaggernaut. They catch Kim on the outside, but Swaggernaut's going to drop very, very low. He's going to jump back to safety. They got to stay focused on the towers. They got to take him out. Richard gets one, moves around to the racks. Me and Her going to put some work in. Little Light, Swaggernaut doing some damage, but that's not going to stop them. All it's doing is buying a little bit of space. Richard comes in. He wants to take out the range racks. Disruptor still in a desperate battle up on top. Keep in mind that we have some boots of travel out as well, so they have to be careful of who's coming out there. Dump Up's taking some damage from the Viper, but Viper wants to focus on that instead of the objectives that may cost him. Little Light has to back away. Gets caught by Lolma. He comes out. It's got the rage. Richard on the backside puts in some damage. Goes in Viz. Wants to try to put some work in. Lolma falls off. There's the blade mail. Can they put in what they need? They don't. Gematrucid on the ground. BKB's popped out. We've got one man down. Make it 2. The Venge buys back immediately. We're going to see Necrophos tossed up in the air. Wants to try to come back around on Limelight. Limelight going to follow the rest of his team backwards. But up on top, that's going to be Megas, baby. As we saw the boots of travel utilized, Richard has to go back to make the stop. Let's go back to the fight here. Limelight wants Swaggernaut. Swaggernaut goes down. Me and her pops the blade mail. Loma on the chase. Me and her doing everything he can to keep Limelight up. Limelight in some serious trouble here. Turns back around. They decide to go on Lol. Lol puts in the work on me and her. Lol's dropping very low. Can they finish the job? Lol does go down. Me and her on the chase. Now it's Dump Pubs. Meeple might have thrown when he died, like he just said. Dump Pubs is going to go down. The push here is to the high ground. They can try to make the race. The buyback is available on Loma, and that should save them here. There's the buyback from Necro. Buyback from Loma. Earth Spirit's going to be up as well. Disruptor's still desperately trying to hold the base. They need everything they can. They go in. They get the first tower. Can they get the second one? Swaggernaut and the rest of the team waiting for their chance to move in. They've got to make a play, and they've got to make it soon. Me and her, Richard, Kem, leading it in. This could be it. Little Light's got the damage. They don't have the stop. This should be the game. In they come. What can they do? Richard stays on target. They're going to go. They want the Ancient. They're going all the way, baby. Me and her sticks around. Swaggernaut. Oh, so much life left. Richard pops the BKB. Can he finish the job? He can do it. He will do it. It's going to game 3. What a play. Wisconsin comes out when we thought there was no chance on the back of Guillotine throwing for the Megas, the Supers, basically, Gorgon. This is Toffees. You can find me at Toffees TV. I'm joined by Gorgon the Wonder Cat. You can find him at the Wonder Cat. You can find all of us at C Star League. Gorgon, who's your band player of the game?
Guillotine in favor of UW-Madison?
Yeah, I guess.
Am I allowed to say that, or is that too salty? Like,
no, I mean,
there's no earthly reason that UW-Madison should have won this game.
Yeah, no,
they made the right choice to push mid,
Jesus.
but that's not a hard choice to make it in that situation, right? Like, they just won this game because of the decisions that Guillotine made, specifically that very last decision that he made. But he died twice in a row trying to take that top set of racks by himself, or just him in the life stealer.
Yeah,
without buyback.
Great plays.
There's no earthly reason for that. It's crazy.
So UCLA loses the game. Wisconsin pushes it to 3. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with game 3 of UCLA versus University of Wisconsin-Madison. And it's probably going to be a barn burner because these last two have been absolutely interesting. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back with Game 3.